At some point, people need to be willing to sacrifice their greed for the betterment of society. And we need to do that knowing that maybe we don't reap the benefit now, but it's better for the future. And I think that we need a leader that's willing to live and die by that message.
Tucker Carlson.
I think he would do that.
You think he's going to do it?
I think he should. I don't know if he will, but I think he should. I think that that's how he would lead.
It's like self-sacrifice is almost what you need.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Trump said America first, getting elected. And I believe that he truly believes he's doing what's better for the country. But we are a country drowning in debt. How do you solve debt? You have to stop spending. But every president, they come in and they say, well, yeah, we want to fix the debt crisis. But I also have all this agenda I have to do, I have to get across or I have to achieve in order to make my presidency worth it, in order to be remembered by the history books. And if you're the president that says, I'm not going to do anything but save money, that's not a historically popular thing.
No.
But don't we actually need that? At some point, someone will say, my goal for the next 4 years is I'm just not going to spend any money. We're just going to save money, get back on track. And once we do, maybe the next president can benefit from what I did. Like, how amazing would that be, actually? But have we had a president that wants to do that? I don't want to spend money. I know that there's a lot of things I promised or there's a lot of things we want to get done. But my actual goal for the next 4 years is I'm not going to spend any money. If anything, we're going to cut only and do no new spending.
I guess that person has to be willing to lay down their life.
They have to.
It's like when they elect someone, do they put you in a skiff and do they show you the Zapruder tape of JFK being shot? And do they say, you better do what we say, lest you end up like this?
You got to keep the war money machine going, because if you don't, then there's could be a lot of repercussions. And at some point, someone will say no.
Something happens to these people that are in government. They're not like you and I, though. The constant drumbeat of what is in this for me, what can this do for me, does something to a man, doesn't it? That changes you almost.
I would be a horrible politician.
Yeah.
Because I would be removed so fast.
And all the people working for you are like this. These are not self-sacrificial people. That's why I'm saying I don't know how that works. Even if you were to elect Jesus as the president, I don't know how that's going to work unless Jesus has disciples. And hell, Jesus had disciples, and even he was betrayed.
True.
So I'm not sure how that. I'm working this through in my mind. Just the idea of Hobbes, pessimistic, humans are selfish.
But
John Locke, more optimistic, humans are rational, and Rousseau, who believes society corrupts natural goodness. Somewhere in.
If you want change, don't you have to be willing to try something different?
Yes.
Because there's that old saying that everyone says, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Aren't we insane?
In what sense? The spending of the money?
Yeah, spending of the money. Forever wars, and wars never end. And we say we don't want to do, especially on the conservative right, we don't want to do these social programs, but that doesn't make sense. Like, we want to take care of people. I think most people do. Taking all these taxes, giving all these benefits to the establishment companies, and it's just never ending. At some point, someone has to say, let's just stop all of it. Let's recalibrate. Let's get back in check, at least on the money side. And then we can make a decision. But we can't do that until we recalibrate. We need to find out where our baseline is. And a lot of politicians come in and they just add on top. How can you fix a broken system until you fix the broken system first? Trump said, I'm going to remove the deep state. Great. You can't do all these things until you remove the deep state first. You can't start your other programs and say, oh yeah, in the background, we're also correcting the deep state, because the programs are dependent on the deep state. There's an order in which things have to be done. You have to solve the problem that we have in front of us, which is we have a deep state. I think you agree with that. I agree with that. Most people watching
people
agree
tend
with
to
that.
think that people go to DC to solve the world's problems, and congressmen are deciding what's good for society. No, 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 no. They just pick winners and losers. A less abstract example might be people getting pardoned because they donated. How does that work? I mean, what? I mean, and I always say this to every guest. It's like people say, "O'Keefe, oh, you want that thing redacted? Why don't you just pick up the phone and call Pam Bondi, call Kash Patel?" It's like, I've met these people. They seem like good people, but are you suggesting that John Q. taxpayer out there with his problem in society, the way for him to solve it is to pick up the phone and call the director of the FBI? Or to call the president? Well, you know these people, and I find that odd. People in politics don't even think about what's right or wrong. They say, "Do you know them?" And that always gives me pause. I'm like, wait, just hang on a second. Are you suggesting that, like, for me to solve this, I have to know somebody? Doesn't that seem that strikes me as against the principles of the republic? We have a separation of powers. Like, there's supposed to be this. We're supposed to be equal before the law. That to this day has not changed in me, and I don't like the business of politics, because the business of politics is all about power. It's I know this guy rubbing up against this guy. So I don't know. I mean, I admire your optimism.
I mean,
And I admire it deeply, but I don't know how that is going to work.
we just gotta start telling the truth to people. You know, we say in America it's about meritocracy, and this was a whole debate on meritocracy, and people like should be treated based on how they perform. But that's not true. Your example is perfect. It's not about meritocracy. It's about who you know. It's about relationship.
And how much money you're
much
given.
more important than meritocracy.
A parliament of whores, to quote the late P.J. O'Rourke. A parliament of whores. But I do like what you're saying. If you have a couple people who are willing to lead by example, and I think you're doing that in your own way on your show, which I hope is even more successful than it already is. And you have people that provide leadership, and then people follow your example. So I think that's one way in which you can change the world.
I mean, we can dream, we can hope. You know, I don't think it's impossible. I think that there is a generation of people that want actual change, and we just have to encourage them. You know, I'm really big on the idea of helping future generations, helping the way that they see the world. I think technology has created a way where they can see ideas and hear ideas that maybe they didn't have access to before. I mean, growing up, we were limited on the amount of information that we had. Now it's just controlled information, but there's more information available. So how do we promote those areas? And I think it's really, you have to teach people to think for themselves. For my daughter, for example, she watches almost zero TV. The only thing she's really allowed to do is play with puzzles and read books. Because memorizing, doing well in school, like that's not gonna be as important in the future. But can you solve problems and think for yourself? This is gonna be the most valuable thing in the world in 5, 10, 15 years. That's all I teach. How do you solve problems? So I'll give her a puzzle, and she has the same puzzle she's figured out over and over and over again. So what I do is I remove one piece, and then she has to solve that puzzle without the piece, and I don't tell her which puzzle it is. And she thinks, she's like, wait a second, it's not right. I did the same way over and over again, but something's not right here. And she's 3, but she's figuring it out. But that's all I'm trying to teach her right now. Solve problems, and without knowing what the variable is. Because I think that's the value. And I think that's what we need to encourage the next generation to do, is how do you solve problems? And if people can retain their ability to think freely, to question, to constantly question, even more now than ever before, I think we're in good shape.